Road to trail shoes and gravel shoes are increasing in popularity as many brands are putting out their version, but Craft has been doing it for a while and doing it pretty freaking well. Today we're going to be discussing one of those options, which is the Craft Nordlite Ultra 2. What's up everybody, I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and you're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. Today, like I said, we're going to be breaking down the Nordlite Ultra 2, which is Craft's road to trail shoe option in their overall lineup. Now, if it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may notice some timestamps below. Feel free to jump around to the various parts of this video, but if you do so, I would sure appreciate if you come back and watch the full thing when you get a sec, as I put a lot of time and effort into these. And if you've been a viewer for a while, but you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so today and turning on notifications so you get notified every time I drop a new video, which is typically Monday through Friday. Now, to start us off, some quick disclaimers and disclosures about the shoe are that I was provided the shoe for free for the purpose of review. That being said, I was not paid. I'm not given talk tracks. I'm not asked to make any specific content, nor am I obligated to make any specific content. No one gets to watch the videos beforehand, and all thoughts are entirely my own. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the intended use of the shoe. Now, as I mentioned, the Craft Nordlite Ultra is really kind of a road to trail shoe. So it's meant to be kind of a daily trainer for the roads, a shoe you can take out for some bulk mileage, a shoe that you can take out and, potentially do some long runs, some easy runs, recovery runs in, but then also have the versatility to be able to take it on some at least moderate trails or gravel trails. As such, that's how we're going to be evaluating the shoe today. Now, from a price standpoint, the shoe comes in at $160, which for a shoe that has multiple functionalities but is still kind of primarily a daily trainer, I'm okay with that price point. I don't think it's overly expensive. I do think it fits well because that's kind of a premium daily trainer price point. And so with that being, again, multifunctional, then I'm okay with $160 for the most part. From a spec standpoint, the shoe comes in at 10.7 ounces and 305 grams, which for a road trainer, which really has, and we'll talk about the stack, like a max cushion stack, that's not super heavy, but it is on the heavier overall side. Yet for a trail shoe, like a daily trail shoe, that is kind of within the right range. Then, like I said, from a stack perspective, you have 40 in the heel, 34 in the forefoot for a 6mm heel to toe drop. For trails, 6mm is pretty normal, and for the roads, it's just going to be more of a mid drop. Now, from a fit perspective, Craft has put all of their shoes in 2025 on a new last, and so if you've worn Craft shoes before in the past, they fit very wide. I would say they still fit wide, but they are a little bit more standard fitting overall than they used to be. With the Nordlite Ultra 2, it fits true to size lengthwise, so I wouldn't size up or down just according to the length, but if you have narrow feet, you may want to consider half sizing down or just going with a different brand because they are very much wide foot friendly and do lean towards the wider end of standard. Moving to the upper, you have a single layered engineered mesh, and this is going to be, kind of a reinforced, just lightweight, breathable overall upper. I wouldn't call it like the most breathable upper in the world there, but you do see, like, you can kind of see through the toe box there. You get some really good breathability all in all, and it feels really nice even on some warmer days. Sometimes with the breathable uppers, you lack a little bit of structure. That's not the case here, so you have some kind of reinforced TPU overlays in some areas, kind of there in the heel area, you have that little TPU there to give you somewhat of a heel counter, and you do have very much a structured overall heel. Now, the shoe slightly flares out there, but it does come up pretty high in my opinion. So for a running shoe, it almost feels like a mid-top running shoe in some ways, which for me was a little bit annoying, but was still comfortable overall. Like, I didn't have any discomfort in the ankle collar area. And you do have some lighter overall cushion there. So realistically, you're not getting any like extra weight. You kind of have a mid-weight tongue that is fully gusseted, by the way, but you're not really getting extra weight from the upper. The large majority of the weight of the shoe is coming with the outsole and the midsole. Now, from a lockdown perspective, the shoe does have good lockdown despite fitting kind of on the wider end of standard because of that gusseted tongue. And then you can get some really good lockdown with those laces with or without the runner's knot as well. Now, with that road to trail functionality, I'm not really worried about the durability. Again, you kind of have, it's a single layer, but it is reinforced for the most part. So you're going to have some really good durability and protection up top. Moving to that midsole, you have what is called a CR foam, which is a supercritical EVA from my understanding. And this is going to be a little bit firmer than a lot of other shoes out there. Now, for a trail shoe, it's not going to be that firm because trail shoes do tend to feel a little bit more firm underfoot, in my opinion. And with a lot of trail shoes, especially supercritical EVAs, you're going to get some decent compression and some decent kind of responsiveness or rebound in the shoe as well. And I did find that that was kind of surprisingly the case with this one. I kind of expected the shoe to feel bulky and slow and just kind of firm underfoot, where we're prioritizing maybe the protection as opposed to the actual like potential responsiveness of the shoe. But the shoe actually came alive, especially as I was doing strides or in the later parts of my run, once the foam had some kind of time to compress and maybe heat up a little bit. And so that was really, like I said, a pleasant surprise for me, because that's just not really what I expected. Now, by no means do I want to make it sound like this shoe is like a speed-oriented shoe. I don't believe that's the case. It really is more of a kind of like, not a plotter, but like a very like a more easy day, recovery day, maybe standard run and long run, you know, kind of your relaxed, easy trail run type shoe. And it's not going to be something that I'm going to want to do like any speed work or even like tempo work in, whether that's on the road or the trail. The midsole itself, again, being a little bit more firm and a little bit more structured, is going to be very supportive underfoot and going to be very like stable overall, which was really, really nice. And so I found that the foam, again, was more responsive than I would have expected. So there's more pace versatility than I would have expected. So it's not necessarily like a one-note shoe, but something to consider is like, it's not soft enough maybe for a lot of people to be using it for daily recovery, rather daily miles, because a lot of people like a squishier overall foam. So unless you like a firmer foam, then it's probably not going to be best for that. Now moving to the outsole, you have a hyper grip outsole, and you do have some kind of shallow overall lugs, but then they have kind of a flat overall pattern, which is why it allows you to run both on road and on trail. As far as trail usage goes, the lugs are very, very shallow. They're not going to do well in any like technical terrain or anything where you're going to be picking up any mud or kind of sloppy stuff. It really is going to be more of your like very, very tame trail, as well as maybe kind of your gravel trails. And while the grip is really, really good, I feel like the outsole is adding some additional rigidity to the shoe because you have this full coverage. It almost acts like a plate in some ways. So it is giving extra rigidity, and then it also is adding a good amount of weight in the shoe because, like I said, the upper is not very robust, though it is fortified. So most of the weight of the shoe is coming on the bottom half. And so if you could sacrifice or kind of cut down on some of the outsole coverage, then I do think that this shoe would be a little bit more nimble because the foam is actually really nice. Like I said, it has some good pop. So while there are some good road to trail shoes out there, when it comes to road to trail, you know, for me, it's kind of a confusing category because usually the trails where you could use a road to trail shoe on are also tame enough in my mind that you could also probably just take a road shoe on, depending on the road shoe, obviously. Like if you got a durable outsole, then it could handle that. Now, maybe there's a concern about the durability of a road shoe on the trail, and that's valid, especially if you are running on like gravel where it could really tear the bottom of your shoes up. And so having that full coverage and having, you know, not necessarily having like extra tread, but just having the coverage itself, the rubber itself, you know, it's going to increase the life of that shoe. And if you're running on multiple terrains, it's nice to have. But, you know, for me, I think there's a couple of things that could have made the shoe better, like the weight. And like in that sense, like, I feel like even looking within Craft's line, like I could take the Nordlite Tempo out on like pretty tame trail and have a very similar overall experience in the shoe, but maybe get a little bit more pop, a little bit more kind of lively feedback. So, you know, while this does have some pace versatility, while, you know, it does have good grip, for me, if I'm going to be doing road to trail, or if I'm going to be wearing a road to trail shoe, I would rather just use either a trail shoe or a road shoe, depending on what I'm doing. But I do understand like the functionality of if you're someone who maybe you run from your house to the trail, so your first few miles are on the road, you don't want to be wearing like an aggressive trail shoe in that scenario. Well, if the trail is going to be tame when you get there, then yes, something like this could work really, really well. But again, if you're like, most of my trails near me are pretty technical or very, very steep, where I'm going to want a little bit more aggressive tread overall anyway. So for me, even if I could run to those trails, I would rather drive in my trail shoes so that I don't have to run on the road with a more aggressive trail shoe, and then this wouldn't be aggressive enough for those trails. So while the shoe does work, while the outsole does work, for me at least, I do question kind of the need for kind of a road to trail option. I would rather just use one or the other depending on my workout and my run. So who's this shoe for? I think that's a good kind of segue into that. the shoe is probably best for those who are running to their local trails and tame trails and then going on a run, right? If you live near some like wooded trails that aren't going to be super, super technical, that aren't going to be like full of mud, or, you know, you're not going to be doing any water crossings, there's not going to be like a lot of jumping over roots and different things where the tread isn't going to be that big of a deal, I think that this is a really, really good option because you're going to get a little bit of extra tread, which is nice to have, but not necessarily a necessity. Outside of that, I don't know that this shoe really has, and it's not just specific to this shoe, but like road to trail shoes in general, I don't know if they really have any other function. If you just want to buy one shoe and use it for everything, then again, like I can see the appeal of a road to trail shoe. I just think even within Craft's line, you can get a shoe that is going to be better on the roads and good enough for the trail if the bulk of your miles are on the road. So anyway, just some final thoughts on the shoe. Like the Nordlite Ultra 2, really, really nice shoe. I was pleasantly surprised. It's the one out of all those that I received from Craft that I was the least enthusiastic about. And I thought about not requesting this one because I just didn't think it was going to be one that would appeal to me that much, but I figured, no, I want to make sure that I'm reviewing shoes, even ones that I don't think I'll like, because that's part of being a reviewer, right? So this is one that I actively went in expecting to dislike and was very, very pleasantly surprised. I ran 9 miles in the shoe today. It felt really, really nice. It has some good pickup. My stride feels smooth in the shoe. But as far as, you know, overall applicability, for me, I would probably be picking something else over it for most of my runs. Unless, again, I'm running to a local trail that is going to be pretty tame and buffed out. So if you watched this far, I sure appreciate you. Please let me know in the comments what questions that you have about the Nordlite Ultra 2 or what I could be doing to make these reviews better for each and every one of you. And if you've watched this far and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so now and turning on notifications so you get notified every time I drop a new video. And lastly, we'll leave you with a question, as always, which is, do you like road to trail shoes? And if so, what's your favorite one? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody.